This is the Patriots Drive Podcast.
We are all Patriots.
Where we discuss, analyze, and answer questions to all things happening in the NFL and with our New England Patriots. Now, here's your host, Cole Kelly.
Let's go!
Welcome in to another edition of the Patriots Drive Podcast. We are going to wrap up our final thoughts on the Washington football team game, first preseason game that we just had, and then some notes on joint practices so far with the Eagles, and then a little preview of the second preseason game. I'm here with my co-host, Jace. How's it going?
It's going good. Good to be back. Sorry I couldn't be in for the post-game show for Washington. I was at a wedding, but glad to be back here, kind of wrap up our thoughts. And as Bill says, we're on to Philadelphia, right?
Exactly.
Can't linger too long.
Yeah, already on to the Eagles, and second preseason game feels like it's starting to fly by. It's glad to have football back finally. Stuff to actually talk about, and kind of going back to that. Let's just want to hear your thoughts. We kind of talked about it with Pat's Discuss on Thursday night, but kind of your final thoughts on the Washington football team versus the New England Patriots preseason game one.
Yeah. So I caught, glimpses of it live while I'm sitting at the reception. And then I definitely watched a ton of the, highlights and everything. So I saw a lot more good than I saw bad. And the one thing that I saw that stuck out to me right away, and this might get on some people's nerves, was the first drive I tuned into was Cam Newton's fumble. And we got it back, luckily, after it was kicked, and, who knows how, so whoever jumped on it found it and got back on it. But my first reaction is, here we go again, right? This is what we're going to have to do. Now, Cam Newton, I don't think played horrible, but I think that it said a lot when the first drive of the game, you're already seeing his turnover issues come in. Now, he took care of the ball in the passing game, didn't throw a pick, although he only threw 7 passes and was only in for 2 drives. We didn't get to see too much extended time of him throwing the ball. But I was very impressed with Mac Jones. I was very impressed with the defense. I was impressed with Matt Judon. I'm sure we'll get into him later. I thought he could be easily the best signing we have all offseason. We obviously didn't get to see Hunter Henry or Nelson Aguilar. We saw a little bit of Jonnu Smith. We saw that awesome run that he had, catch and run that he had. That's going to be huge in our passing game. I love seeing that. But I thought Matt Judon, knee-jerk reaction, first thing that came to my mind was, man, this guy is going to be huge, with the additions of Kyle Van Noy coming back and Dante Hightower being put back into our system.
Yeah, Judon jumped right off the screen to me immediately. I mean, not only because he was wearing long sleeves.
Yeah.
In like 95-degree heat in New England. So, I mean, he's gonna be freezing during the winter. But yeah, he jumped right off the screen to me immediately. He was absolutely awesome in his limited snaps that he got. But going back to that Cam fumble, I try not to put too much blame on him for that one, because I mean, that's a tough situation. Chase Young just is such a tremendous player, and he flew right by Isaiah Wynn with ease and got a good hit on Cam. So I try not to fault him too much for that one. I thought Cam was all right overall, but we can pull up the stats here. 4 for 7, 49 yards. Mac Jones, 13 for 19, 87 yards. I thought Mac definitely looked more in command than Cam Newton was, but I mean, overall, Cam wasn't bad. It's hard to get in a rhythm. First preseason game, Hunter Henry was out. Nelson Aguilar was out, and you just don't have a lot of snaps, a lot of drives to get things going. So I cut him a little slack for that one, but I definitely thought Mac looked like the better quarterback that first preseason game. So we'll see if that continues into this week. But I was impressed with the defense as well. Quarterbacks did solid. Wide receivers were okay. But just excited mostly about Mac's potential and this defense, and see how good they can be this year.
Yeah, and I don't want to say that I know that wasn't all on Cam, his strip sack, because Isaiah Wynn needs to, win his one-on-ones if he wants to be a solid offensive tackle in this league, whether it's for New England or for another team. But I wonder if there was supposed to be a line protection check at the line of scrimmage, if maybe he missed sliding the line one way, and we don't know that. That's speculation. So that comes into, is he understanding? Is he getting the right pre-snap reads? And, I'm not going to fault him for it. It was just a little concerning for me that was the first thing we saw in his first drive, after all we've heard was he's having a great camp, which he has been. He's been having a good camp, and he's more into the system. He's, changed his mechanics. He's healthier than he's ever been. So it was just, left a bad taste in my mouth after all this positive we've been hearing. In the first drive, he comes out and it's a negative. So maybe it's just me, being a little critical because I don't want to see the quarterback Cam that we had last year, but that's what it was in my mouth. And then going to the Mac Jones side, I thought that he played great. Like you mentioned, he threw it on time most of the time. He made some great touch passes to Christian Wilkerson. I'm going to pull up this clip right here while I'm talking, but I thought that he made some great passes on time. He looked like he was comfortable in the pocket and moving around, doing some good things. And kind of the same thing with Cam is we don't know what the pre-snap reads are supposed to be. Like if he was supposed to check certain things or not, and how much of that he actually did. But if he was doing that stuff, he looked comfortable. Here's the throw to Wilkerson. I mean, it's a good throw. And I'm giving
perfect throw.
And I'm giving the defender credit right here. I think this is great defense where he plays through the hands, but you can't throw this ball any better. And I feel like if this is Nelson Aguilar or someone, like if you pause it right here and look, that ball is right in his hands. Like he doesn't throw it too short. He doesn't throw it too far. That's a very catchable ball for NFL receivers. So I was very impressed with that. And that was his second throw of the game, right?
That was on the first drive. Yeah. One of his, maybe like his fourth throw, but it was his second drive actually. Oh no, it wasn't. First drive. It was his first drive, but yeah, one of his first few throws, and he let it.
Right.
He slung it and threw it right in the bucket it was a great play by the defender though. That pause you just showed, you can see the defender's right hand on there, right on Wilkerson's right hand, and the ball hits him in the left hand. So it was a great defensive play and a great throw by Mac. But that just, shows the potential. He had another throw to Gunner that he just missed long, but he had a couple eye-popping throws where it was like, okay, I see why we took him in the first round. He's got some talent, and he made good decisions and hit some check downs. I thought he could have thrown the ball a little further once in a while if he maybe got to a second or third read instead of throwing it short. But overall, I was impressed with what I saw from him early on.
Yeah, and talking stats wise, you see it right here. He's 13 for 19 with 87 yards. That's a 34-yard pass. If he completes that, he goes 14 for 19 with over 110 yards, and he has a touchdown. Like that totally changes the way people are looking at it if they didn't watch the game. If you see 14 for 19 over 100 yards and a touchdown from Mac Jones, you're like, oh, geez, like look at what he did. Like Trey Lance, people don't realize he was 5 for 14, but what did everyone see on social media? His 80-yard touchdown pass, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you add a 34-yard touchdown pass, especially that throw to Cam or to Mac Jones's stat line. People might be thinking differently of him right now. And for us that watched the full game, I agree he can definitely improve. Like there were things that you can tell he's still a rookie. I think he's a mature rookie, and he might be more ready than what we think he is, and he might be pushing Cam for this starting job a lot more than what we're hearing and what we're thinking. But I thought that Matt came out and did what he needed to do to boost his stock and hopefully get that quarterback one position locked down.
And that was one thing I saw was like, oh wow, Mac threw the ball 19 times and had 87 yards. Like, oh, that's amazing. But you had, if you didn't watch the game, you didn't see that dime that he threw. That would have been 35 yards and a touchdown. He almost hit Gunner. That would have been probably for another 40 yards. And who knows how far Gunner could have caught and ran with that. So I don't know. He had some impressive throws that the stat line doesn't really line up with it. It's his first preseason game. He looked impressive. He looked confident. He looked decisive. I'm impressed with what I saw with him. I'm not too concerned with the stat line of only 87 yards with 19 throws. If Wilkerson catches that ball, if Wilkerson catches another ball that he dropped, that would have been another 13 yards. Where Mac got hit, it was like 1st and 15, I think, and Wilkerson was running back to catch it, and he dropped it. So there's a couple throws that receivers dropped, and that would have added to his stat line. He would have been over 100 yards if a couple of those or even one of those go his way. So I'm not concerned about that at all. I thought he had a good game, and the stat line doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I'm going to throw up every single pass that he had completed. I'm going to put a video on there. It's 3 minutes. We can continue to talk over it. But like you mentioned, there was a throw on to Jacoby Myers, which I think legitimately proved that he can be a wide receiver one, where he literally caught it off the ground. No, it didn't touch the ground. They rolled it incomplete, and I think I turned my phone off. So I know they were challenging it, but did they actually change the call?
No, they actually didn't. Bill didn't challenge it. So
Oh, they didn't. Okay, so
yeah.
I remember them saying they should.
Yeah, he should have challenged it. It was a catch,
Yeah.
but I remember Scott Zolak said on the broadcast, he said, I mean, Mac Jones, he's a rookie, his first drive in the NFL. You put him in a 3rd and 5 situation after an incompletion like that. That's a good situation for a rookie to see what he's got. You know what I mean? Pressure, third down and 5. Things are on the line. You're trying to continue the drive early on. So I don't know. He should have challenged it. I think if it was a real game, he obviously would have, because it was a catch and there was definitely enough evidence to overturn it. But I mean, Mac looked good. Jacoby looked solid. He had a couple nice catches. Kendrick Bourne was kind of quiet. He had that one nice catch over the middle. That was a good throw by Mac. Other than that, didn't really see much from Kendrick Bourne, but I don't know. I thought Mac looked good. Receivers looked solid at some points. A couple drops from Wilkerson, which you're it's kind of unfortunate, especially with he's trying to fight for a job, trying to fight for a spot on this roster, and he's having trouble dropping the ball. Seemed like in practice today, in the past 2 practices, he's kind of been struggling with drops as well. So just overall, I like what I saw from Mac though.
Yeah, and going back to look at this pass right here to Jakob Johnson right here. Like, this isn't a great pass. Like, he needs to get this up, not make Jakob stop his momentum, and maybe he gets a first down. So there's definitely things that he needs to improve on. Like, this is a completion, and I still think he can get better, which I think he will. But he's not playing with his full offensive lineman, so protection might not have been as great as it was. Again, Washington probably isn't playing their starters when Mac was in too much. So, there's some give or take to that argument, but there's some things he needs to improve on right here. Just finding shallow crossers. N'Keal Harry makes a guy miss. I don't know why he ran so far backwards. I get it, but like, he's throwing the ball on time. He's making the right reads. And a lot of guys are like, well, yeah, like you mentioned, he had 13 completions for 87 yards. It's like, I mean, New England's offense for the last couple of years with Brady in there hasn't been known for chunk plays. They go down the field, not check downs necessarily, but they get the ball out on time, accurately.
They 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that Mac efficiently ran that offense the way it was supposed to be ran. So I was impressed with him. The one throw, the second throw we saw, I'll go back to it here in a minute once we get through all of these, but the one to Kendrick Bourne over the middle, I thought that it was well placed where only Kendrick Bourne could get it. It's a little play action pass, and the linebacker creeps up and he's trying to get back, but Mac places it over the linebacker and then puts it right on Kendrick Bourne before the safety or corner can get there. So I was impressed with him. There's going to be things that he can improve on, obviously, always. But right here, you see a screen pass. That's a classic little New England play right there. Like, just, read the defense off, make the right play, throw the bubble to Christian Wilkerson right here. Boom, that's 6 yards on a second down to make it 3rd and manageable. So I didn't hate what he did at all. This is the pass that I was talking about, right over that linebacker and before the safety gets there. That's a 14, 15-yard completion right here. Yep. You see the linebacker puts it right on his helmet. I thought that was probably one of his best completed throws of the day. Obviously, since they didn't challenge the Jacoby Myers one or the Wilkerson one, those two would have been up there. But I loved what I saw from Mac. I thought it was a good day for him. And I'm excited to see what he does in the next 2 preseason games.
Yeah, me as well. And we'll touch on this question real quick. Who will be starting on Thursday? I assume at quarterback. I think Cam is, and it's going to vary from team to team, but based off practice today with the Eagles, joint practices was only an hour and 20 minutes. It was cut short. That could be an indication that the starters might play a decent amount in this game too. So I would assume Cam plays more than he did game 1, maybe plays the first half or close to the first half. And then Matt comes in, gets his opportunity, and maybe Hoyer plays like a couple drives in the 4th. But I think we'll see a heavy dose of both of these guys. And hopefully Matt gets his opportunities with more of the starters, because he only was with that starting offensive line for the first drive, and that was it. And he didn't have Jonnu out there. I didn't see him out there. He had Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby for a little bit, and then it was kind of Christian Wilkerson, N'Keal Harry, and then a little bit of Kendrick Bourne sprinkled in there. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm excited to see how he continues to progress. And this first game was a great indication that we know why we took him round 1, pick 15. He's got a lot of really good signs. He's shown a lot of really good signs so far that he can be a successful quarterback in the NFL and that he's picking things up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I don't expect anything to change between Mac and Cam in the preseason. Mac is probably going to take Cam is really going to have to do something to lose his job, or Mac is going to really have to do something to win the job. Whichever way it is. I don't think that we saw that in game 1. Now we saw some improvements from Mac, which I'm excited to see, but still at this point, I'm convinced that Bill is going to walk out there with Cam Newton as the week 1 starter. I just think after what we saw from Mac and Cam in preseason game 1 is that leash might be shrinking. Maybe it's closer than what we thought. People might have thought, maybe we don't get him until the bye week or this or that. I think that it could be week 5 or 6 possibly now. Maybe it's earlier than that even. So we'll continue to see how close Mac can make this race in the last 2 preseason games.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cam's going to start week 1, but I mean, it's continuing to look more and more like Mac is being more impressive almost every practice. So we'll see how long it takes him to continuously outperform Cam before they trust him to go into a real live game and be that starting quarterback. But I mean, I think once you make that switch to Mac, it's going to be hard to go back to Cam. So I just want Mac to be ready. I want them to be 100% sure he's the guy and that he's going to be the best quarterback for this team to win games. I don't care who it is. Whoever's going to win us the most games, put him in a quarterback. That's all I care about. So I want Mac to be progressing at a good pace and them not to throw him in too early and hurt his progression. So I hope they continue to give both these guys ample opportunity to win this job because, I mean, Mac, I think if you throw him in with the starters, it seems like he's going to be the guy that's going to continuously outperform Cam. So we'll see if he continues to do that in training camp in joint practices and preseason games. But I hope they at least both get their opportunities.
Yeah. And they will continue to get their opportunities. It's going to be, a fun battle to continue to follow. I think it's exactly what we should want as Patriots fans. Both of them pushing each other. You got a veteran in there that can teach Mac. You got Mac that's going to push Cam for that starting job. And you don't want it to come easy one way or the other. You want there to be some competition within that room and make each other better. So I'm excited to continue to watch this, but let's move on to the receivers. Obviously Cam and Mac had their goods and bads. The receivers also, I think N'Keal Harry was a little disappointing when I first saw this stat line, 1 for 4. And then Christian Wilkerson, obviously a good amount of catches, a little unproductive in, the amount of yards he had per catch. And then those 2 drops, especially the one in the end zone from Mac Jones. So what are your overall thoughts on this wide receiver position?
It was tough to see without Nelson Aguilar in to get a big picture of the overall receiving core. But I mean, some of these depth guys that were fighting for spots, Christian Wilkerson had a couple key drops. You can't be doing that when you're on the bubble of being on this roster. You got to secure those catches and have success while you're out there and get your opportunities. So N'Keal Harry, 1 reception, 4 yards. I was disappointed. I thought he was going to have a game where he really shows, okay, I deserve a spot on this roster. I should be wide receiver 4 and I should get my opportunities. But I mean, it's hard to tell if he was open because we can't watch the film like from the bird's eye view that usually you can watch on the NFL films or whatever it is. But all the plays I saw, he was blanketed in coverage a couple times deep. I mean, cornerback right on him. So I wasn't impressed with what I saw from him. I thought Wilkerson was good. He had some nice screen passes. Once he got the ball in his hands, he was pretty solid creating after the catch. So I thought he did well other than outside of the couple drops. But I mean, just cleaning that up is going to be big for him. We'll touch on this real quick while we're talking about the wide receivers. Will Trey Nixon make the roster? He's tall and fast, runs vertically. Any thoughts? So I'm not sure what's going on with Trey Nixon, but I don't believe he made the trip to Philadelphia. I haven't heard about an injury. I haven't heard about anything like that, but I don't believe he made the trip to Philadelphia. Whether he's going to be getting cut, I'm not sure if he's dealing with something injury wise. But what are your thoughts on Trey Nixon?
Yeah, Trey Nixon's interesting. I think we have other guys that are fast and can run vertically too. So I don't think that that's a good enough argument. If that's the case, I'd rather just have N'Keal Harry there. At least a guy that's played and maybe Trey Nixon will turn out better, but I just don't see there being a spot for him on this roster. If he didn't make the trip, that's kind of a bad sign. And if we don't know what's going on, like if they haven't released an injury report or COVID or something like that, it's a little concerning. I just don't think there's a spot for him on this team right now. Maybe on the practice squad where he can continue to develop, and maybe next year he has a chance. If N'Keal Harry is gone, if some of these guys don't pan out. So I don't see there being a spot for Trey Nixon this year.
Yeah, I don't really either. I think practice squad is going to be a good spot for him where he can develop. He needs some time to develop, but I mean, he's got some tools. He's got some promise. So we'll see if he can finish out a good camp, and if he's on the practice squad, if he can kind of build up some more of those tools, refine his skills and techniques, and maybe try out for an actual role on this team next year.
Mm-hmm. Just a couple more things on the wide receiver position. I'm excited to see Nelson Aguilar. Hopefully, I don't know if they've announced if he'll play in game 2, but he's been doing stuff in joint practices, right?
Yep, he's back at practice,
so that's good.
But yeah, we'll touch on his injury situation a little bit more coming up pretty soon. But yeah, he is expected to play, I believe, on Thursday. He's been practicing the past couple of days, so that's good news on that front. We'll have him back, but we'll touch on one last thing before we talk about kind of joint practices and the other stuff. The running backs, Ramondre Stevenson, obviously he had a good game this past preseason game. He had that one long touchdown run, but other than that, he was solid. Had another touchdown earlier where he got like 4 handoffs in a row and punched it in from. They started at like the 15 and punched it in from there. So what were your kind of thoughts on Ramondre Stevenson, JJ Taylor, and both those backs?
So I'll start off with JJ Taylor because I thought that he did exactly what we should expect him to do. Not too much in the running game, but in the passing game, he's going to be effective, whether it's alongside James White or kind of taking over for James White. I think that's what we should look for in JJ Taylor, is him being more of a pass catcher. And 5 for 31 isn't bad. If you can get 5 receptions a game, it makes the linebackers have to cover them more. It makes safeties have to cover them. They have to respect short yardage, especially with his ability to break tackles and make people miss. If you dump it off to him at 2 or 3 yards, he can easily take it for 20 or 30. So you can't just leave the man wide open. You have to at least put someone in his area. So I liked what I saw from JJ Taylor. I'm reading stuff that he's actually getting some opportunities in the return game and the joint practices versus the Eagles. So maybe he has a role there. And I think that that's good for him. But Ramondre Stevenson, I mean, he excited me. I obviously this is Damian and Sony's backfield, however they split it, however they get it. But I think that touchdown, I'll pull this up too. I pulled up another clip. Sorry, I love these clips and I think it's good for people to see.
Yeah,
but
no, absolutely.
When we talked about this last week about how he has to have that breakaway speed in the NFL, you see it here, man. I mean, he beats that safety to the sidelines, and these guys aren't gaining ground on him. Maybe 32 does, but when you have a 230-pound running back running 91 yards, he's going to lose steam at some point. So
that was my biggest concern with him. We talked about last week was him having that top end speed. It didn't look like so far in training camp that he had that top gear. And to be fair, this was going against backups in late in the fourth quarter. So
yeah,
it's the back end roster guys, but it was good to see him have a little bit of that breakaway speed, even if it is against some of the backups. He did what he was supposed to do. And that was a phenomenal run. He had a great run, outran those guys. Yeah, you can see him gaining separation on 51. 32 might be catching up to him a little bit, but not quick enough. So I was impressed that he had a little bit of that top gear.
Yeah, and him hitting the hole right here as he starts, he gets the toss. He sees a hole and he hits it. And, even if he gets tackled right here by the safety, that's a 21-yard run right there on 2nd and 7 from your own 9-yard line, gets you out of the, if you have to punt from inside the 10, it gets a little hairy. You have to shorten splits. You have to do other things like that. So that's a big run, even if he gets tackled. And I thought that he did great things before that. Showing, where he can be a big bruising back at the goal line and short yardage downs. And then now we've seen him with the breakaway speed, and we'll see once he gets, full NFL linebackers in competition out there against him. But that's promising. That's promise for me. I'm excited to see how he continues to run, because I think he right now, he should be getting a lot of the carries after Damian Harris and Sony Michel in this next 2 games. We got to see if he can continue to keep this up. Now, he might not have over 100 yards again, But if he can continue to sit at that 3.5, 4 yards a carry, mark, he might find a role on this team, earlier than we expected.
And he just got his first taste of first team touches today in practice. So maybe he's starting to carve out a role on this team. So yeah, I think what he did was huge for his stock and his case to make this team and actually contribute his rookie year. Not a lot of rookie running backs do that for us. So yeah, I was impressed with what I saw from him. I thought JJ Taylor he wasn't great in the run game per se, but I mean, he was great out of the backfield. Mac Jones checked it down to him a few different times and caught the ball, created after the catch. He got his yards after the catch this past game, off screen plays and different stuff like that, check downs. He was awesome. So I thought he made a good case for himself to be a versatile guy in this offense. I'd just like to see him have a little more success actually running the ball. Mm-hmm. But passing wise, I thought he did great this past game.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what JJ Taylor does, making people miss with the ball. The other thing that I was going to mention was kind of on the defensive, just a quick recap on the defensive side. Jawan Williams was the first player to have a pick. Now, I didn't watch too much of him. I just saw him out there, and so I don't know if he was actually struggling. Now, maybe it's a bright spot that he got a pick, but was he still kind of having his issues?
Yeah, he wasn't great. That interception was not. It had nothing to do with anything he did. It
was kind of tipped to him, wasn't it?
Right to him. Yeah. I mean, tipped. I don't know if Michael Jackson tipped it, I think, and then right to Jawan Williams. So he did absolutely nothing to deserve that interception. That was just pure luck. He was in the right place at the right time. But I mean, he caught it, so I guess you can give him credit for that. But
he has hands, so maybe it gives him some confidence. I don't know. It sounds like other people in the secondary have been struggling in joint practices, but we'll wait and get to that a little later on in the episode. But let's move on. We had a couple more injuries go down since the preseason game. Jonnu Smith, obviously a big one. An ankle, right? Yep. Tweaked an ankle.
He had a low ankle sprain. Jonnu Smith did. And then came down funny in practice the other day.
And then Ronnie Perkins today I didn't exactly hear what his was. I just know he was walking off the field with some trainers.
Yeah, knee injury. Good news for him though. He got it wrapped up and he did come back on the field for practice. So nothing too serious, obviously, if he was back out there on the field. But yeah, I mean, a load of injuries. Our tight end room, 1 out of our 6 tight ends are healthy.
Yep.
And that one guy just came off the COVID-19 list. So he's probably dealing with some stuff after effects of that, respiratory wise. I mean, Jason Tatum had to use an inhaler for like a month after he came back from COVID. So, I mean, football and basketball are different, but still, you got to think might be dealing with some effects. It affects everybody differently. But yeah, I mean, Jonnu, ankle injury, Hunter Henry, shoulder, Lacoste got knocked out. So he's in concussion protocol, I would assume. Good news. I mean, good news on some fronts is that we got some guys back. Aguilar's back. We're not really sure what he was dealing with, but he's back. David Andrews is back. That's huge. He had that hand injury. Chase Winovich is back. He was activated off the PUP list early this week. Asiasi, he's back off the COVID list, but also Christian Barmore. So that's another big one.
That's the big one.
We got half our guys back, and then we lost half our other guys. So it's been up and down. Jonnu, Hunter Henry, Lacoste, Colbert, Nick Folk is still out. I'm not really sure what he's dealing with, but we got a lot of guys that are key parts to this team, that this is a really important time for them to be building their chemistry. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Having Jonnu, having Hunter Henry out on the field to build chemistry with Mac, Cam, all these guys. It's a crucial time for this, especially with 2 new guys in the offense adding so many different pieces. It's really unfortunate that these guys are missing some key time.
Yeah, and Devin Asiasi had a touchdown today from Mac Jones at the end of the 11-on-11 work. So you're seeing him, get some targets at least and, catching some balls. So it might be good if he can step in and solidify that tight end 3 role when Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry are healthy. But I know it sucks to have injuries. I hate injuries as much as everyone, but with injuries opportunity comes after that. You're going to have guys step up. Hopefully Devin Asiasi can do that. We drafted him in the 4th last year, I'm pretty sure. Or was it the 5th? I think he was the 4th and Keen was the 5th, or
I think 3rd.
3rd. You might be right. Yeah. So, we invested some not high draft capital, but some pretty valuable draft capital there on those guys. You'd like to see Ossie at least step in and have a role, because if one of these guys do go out for an extended period of time, I would still like to see 2 tight end sets, and if Ossie can be that guy, I would love it. So yeah, injuries only come with opportunity for the other guys, the backup guys. But I'm really excited that we got Christian Barmore back. I hope he plays game 2 on Thursday against Philly. I think he's going to be huge. And I'm pretty sure Lawrence Guy went out too, right? Did you mention that?
No, I didn't mention that. I don't know. Oh yeah, he was out. He's been out the past couple of days, right?
I think he went out. So that's what I'm reading right here, where Lawrence Guy went out for undisclosed reasons. Now that was joint practice 1. So yeah. I don't know if he was back today. Maybe he was, and I'm not reading that in the article. I am, but
I'm not sure if he was back today. I didn't see that.
With Lawrence Guy out, having Christian Barmore come back is big. Just keeping that depth there and keeping guys that we can trust with him and Gachu and other guys on the interior.
Ossie was drafted 3rd round, pick 91. So
yeah,
3rd round guy. He's getting his opportunity here. I mean, he's going to be the only healthy tight end probably on Thursday. So, I mean, he's going to get plenty of snaps. He's going to get plenty of opportunities to prove himself. So we'll see what he does with it. Hopefully he makes the most of his opportunity and shows that he can be a guy to have a role on this team as well. We took him in the 3rd round last year. That's a decent pick. It's his 2nd year. Hopefully he makes that 2nd year jump and continues to improve. But yeah, he'll get his opportunity. Christian Barmore, I'm super excited to see him. We haven't seen any of him yet. We've heard great things about him in practice, that he dominates on the defensive line. He's been great. So I saw a couple of videos of him the past couple of days going against some Eagles offensive linemen, and he was looking good. So I'm excited to see him in some real live game action. We missed him last week. He was suited up, but didn't play still because of that injury that he was dealing with, his foot ankle injury. So we'll get to see him back on the field. Nelson Aguilar, first taste of him on Thursday. We'll get to see him back on the field. So we'll get to see a couple guys. We're gonna lose a couple more guys as well. But yeah, we're just seeing the improvement, seeing more guys get their opportunities and seeing what they do with it.
For sure. Well, moving on. We hit on this earlier, early and often, Matt Judon, we saw big plays over and over again. And it's great to see. I think that our linebacker core with him, Van Noy, and Hightower is awesome. So you have a clip here. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. He looked pretty dope in the red long sleeves. Kind of mean.
Oh, I really liked it. It was just, yeah. I mean, it was like it felt like 95 there. I'm pretty sure the feels like temperature was. It's like, oh my God. And it was humid too. So it was like, all right. I mean, whatever. But no, I like the red sleeves. I thought it looked tough, but we'll just show a couple quick clips. But I mean, overall, if you go back and watch that first 20 minutes of the game and you just watch Judon every single play, he's doing something. I mean, there was a couple plays he wasn't as involved, but whether he's putting heavy pressure on the quarterback, whether he's getting in there, getting a hit on him as he throws the ball, stuff in the run here, like you'll see in a second, going back in coverage, he was all over the place, and it was just super early in the game. Immediately, he was making an impact, so that was super exciting to see. We'll show this play right here on 3rd down. So big play, Judon right here in the red sleeves stands out with that. So it was easy to watch him, but
yeah, easy to find him, right? Yeah, that's a big time play right there. Great
play on 3rd down there.
Yeah, you go back to that. You talk about coming off the line of scrimmage and staying tight, because if he bellies this, the running back just beats him there, but he comes right off that tackle's butt.
Just follows the pull and tackle and gets to that running back. Yeah.
Yep. And you see number 72, that tackle kind of stutter, like once Judon's past him, and like he's trying to, what they call is it's a hinge block. So he stepped down and then you got to seal this guy off, but Judon beats him to it. This is great right here. You see the
guard pulled.
Yeah, the guard pulls, the tackle blocks down, and then you'll see him try to get back out to him, but Judon's past him. Look, he
already flew by, made that tackle.
That's a big play, 3rd and 2. That's how zone plays are blocked, or power plays is those backside guys have to make plays. That's big time. You love seeing that. So
yeah, and he was all over the place. I'm trying to find the clip of him in coverage. Maybe I won't be able to find it.
Yeah, it's good to see some production out of that linebacker group again. Obviously, we would have it with Hightower or Kyle Van Noy, but to see another guy stepping up, making it solid, I'm excited to see what he continues to do on there. He could be, and he might already be our best linebacker that we have. And that's tough to say, especially with the experience of Hightower. And I don't want to relinquish, that spot to him. But with what Judon's done, what we've seen and what we've heard, he could easily be the best linebacker we have this year on this team.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see just what he does and the impact he makes. But we got a little bit of breaking news here, so we'll show this real quick and then we'll go back to that. Troy Fumagalli was just released, and I did just check this. He was released by the Patriots, so that explains his absence. I guess was not injury related. He was an early success guy in the beginning of training camp. He was one of our best tight ends, honestly, in camp. He was scoring touchdowns left and right with Cam, with Mac, all the different guys. So he was having a good camp. I'm surprised we released him with the lack of tight end depth that we currently have. I would think that we'd want to keep him going into Thursday, but we have to release somebody. We had to get the roster down to 85 by 4 p.m. tonight. So that explains that. But
and maybe that's good news. Like maybe that means Jonnu and Hunter, and we know that they're not supposed to miss extended time outside of the preseason, but maybe that means, we might get to see one of them in game 3, or maybe they're that comfortable with Ossie and Lacoste as tight ends 3 and 4. So yeah, it sucks to see him with the released with the tight end position we have right now, but that could be a good sign in a way.
Yeah, hopefully that's being optimistic about it. I hope that is the case. I think Jonnu will be good to go for game 3. I don't know how much they'll play starters though. It's team to team basis, but Hunter Henry, I don't think he'll be good to go game 3. I don't think we'll see him until week 1 starting the season. So that's unfortunate, but hopefully he has time to kind of get some chemistry built. But it's hard to just jump in with no preseason games, no warm up into the season. So we'll see. Hopefully they can both come back quickly and be healthy and ready to go. I know Hunter Henry has been at practice. He made the trip to Philadelphia, but he's only gone through the walkthroughs and warm ups, and then he's for contact. He's out. He's not in there, which his shoulder injury. So he can go through walkthroughs. He can jog around, but nothing contact wise. But yeah, we'll kind of jump back onto Judon. He was not only in this game, the limited snaps we saw him, but all over the place in training camp, joint practices everywhere. I mean, he had first joint practice yesterday with the Eagles. He had a pick 6. I mean, he's all over the place, whether that's rushing the passer, getting pressure, in coverage, stopping the run, setting the edge. I am so excited to watch him this year on the defensive side of the ball. Him, Hightower, Van Noy, that trio is a 3-headed monster, and I can't wait to see what they do this year.
Are the boogeymen back, or do they need to find a new name?
I think they need to find a new name, but I think they could be back. It's exciting. You got so much talent on this defensive side of the ball. Mm-hmm. The only thing I'm concerned about, like we've talked about before, is that cornerback depth. But I mean, when Gilmore comes back, this defense is going to be scary, and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. And, I think one of the secondary positions the secondary position that we thought was the strongest might have had some struggles in the joint practices earlier today, reading, that some of the safeties had a little bit of trouble guarding Ertz and Goddard is a little concerning, especially reading names like Adrian Phillips and Kyle Duggar. If they're going to have coverage issues, that's scary on tight ends. I think that they'll work out of it. They're too good of players, and they've been having too good of training camps to not get out of the slump and, figure it out. So I don't worry about it. It's just, when you read that headline and you see guys like Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert torching our safeties, it's kind of catches you off guard.
It's definitely a little bit concerning, but the good thing is that it's Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. They're both really good tight ends. So, but it's kind of a continuation of what we saw last year with Kyle Duggar. He struggled a little bit in coverage, and that's something he really needs to refine and improve, get improved it with his coverage ability. So he's great. He's a tremendous athlete, but just seeing him kind of refine those skills and be better covering tight ends, different guys, running backs, whatever he needs to do. He struggled a little bit with it last year, so hopefully he kind of figures it out. But Adrian Phillips, I'm not as concerned about. He's been absolutely phenomenal in training camp. He's done a great job covering our tight ends. So I think he'll be all right. I think Kyle Duggar will too. He's still young. He's got time. Just it's camp. So we'll see if this is continuing to be an issue. Last week we saw Logan Thomas kind of moss Kyle Duggar, but it was good coverage. He was on him. It was just a better catch. So
yep,
we'll see. But I'm not too concerned overall. I think our secondary is good. I think with our defensive line, when we got everybody healthy in that on that side of the ball, I think it's going to mesh together well, and we'll be all right.
Yep. All right. Last kind of position group we want to hit on, for the pregame as we are getting ready to play Philadelphia. The Eagles have a very good offensive line and defensive line. How do you expect the Patriots to hold up? Do we continue to see Judon tear it up? Do we see Barmore come in and maybe have a little struggles? And then how does our offensive line do? Especially, Isaiah Wynn, we saw him struggle a little against Chase Young and other people. So how do you see our both offensive and defensive line performing in game 2?
It's going to be a great test. It's going to be a really, really good test for this team on both sides of the ball. We saw yesterday our offensive line struggle a little bit against Philly's defensive line, but they're no joke. They got a really good defensive line. Fletcher Cox is fantastic. So hopefully the struggles don't continue, because we tried to run the ball on them multiple times in a row and gotten absolutely nowhere. So that's a little bit concerning when you see the strength of this team is our offensive line and probably our defensive line as well, but especially our offensive line. That's a big strength of our team. So seeing them go up against a tough challenge in the Eagles defensive line, you hope that they can have a little more success than they had in the first session of joint practices. So we'll see how that plays out on the field. I think we'll be all right. I think the Eagles will make their fair share of plays. I think we'll make our fair share of plays. So defensively, I think we'll have a little more success than offensively, just because kind of what we've seen so far at training camp. I think Judon's had some success as well. So I think he'll continue his success. And Barmore, it'll be a great test for him. First preseason game, you're going up against one of the best offensive lines in football. It's going to be a great challenge for both sides of the ball for us.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to ask for anything else, especially in preseason. You're getting top of the line competition, and it only makes them better, even if they struggle. Us as fans and supporters got to realize that they're getting better. They're playing against some of the best offensive and defensive linemen in the league. So we're seeing people struggle, but we still got to improve. I was always told playing, you want to peak week 15, 16, 17, kind of like what the Bucks did, right? They struggle the first half, they go on by, they win out, they win the Super Bowl. So you never want to peak too early, you never want to peak too late. I don't think we're going to be seeing either team peak in preseason game 2, just, the reality of football and stuff, but you're going to see guys struggle. You're going to see guys do good things. You're going to see them do bad things. It's just, what I'm concerned is how do they look at week 5 or 6 from preseason week 2? If they look the same in a month and a half, 2 months, it's concerning. But if you see improvements, from Barmore, from Wynn and those guys, there's promise. And that's what I'm excited to watch.
And this is when you want that test. An early test, great offensive line, great defensive line for both our front units to go up against. It's a great test early in the season before the season starts. So, going up against these talented players on the Eagles fronts, both the fronts, that's going to prepare us for the regular season extremely well. We're not going to face many tougher defensive lines and offensive lines than the Eagles have. That's their strong suit of the team. They're not a great team necessarily overall. They have plenty of holes all over the place, but that's where they're good, in the trenches. They're really talented. They got a lot of really, really talented guys who are top tier at their position. So I think it's a great time to have this test, and it's a good warm up, I guess you could call it, for the regular season and get prepared for real live action for a whole game.
Well, both Philly and Washington, Philly's defensive line and offensive line and Washington's defensive line, there's dudes on there. There's all pro type
Absolutely.
Of players. So
yeah,
you're not going to find another span in a 2-week game span in the regular season that's as tough as Washington and Philly is talking about, the offensive line. So it's a good test. It's a good test, but we'll see, where this team really stands. I don't remember who it was, but I think that New England was 3 on the top 5 offensive line list. So there's high praise for that offensive line. And we'll see how they continue to do against, these top 10, top 5 type of defensive lines.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be a great test for both these guys. But not only defensive line and in the trenches, I'm excited about, but getting to see Nelson Aguilar for the first time, kind of touching back on what we talked about a little bit earlier, getting to see him, getting to see how his speed translates in game and how much of a difference it really makes. We haven't seen our tight ends necessarily be involved because of the injuries. So getting a guy back like Nelson Aguilar, who's going to be such a key part of this offense. You heard Jacoby Myers talk about it today. He said, I mean, having Nelson Aguilar out there taking the top of a defense is extremely useful. It creates opportunities for, this was Jacoby Myers saying it, it creates opportunities for me and Kendrick Bourne to get open. So I'm excited to see how the impact that he has on a defense. I saw some stats today about Nelson Aguilar last season. He averaged like 19 yards per catch. That's a deep threat. That's second best in the league last year, yards per catch. So he's definitely a deep threat. He's got some speed. He's done well in practices. He struggled a little bit with drops, even in the joint practices. He's dropped the ball a couple times, but he's also made some really big explosive plays. So I'm excited to see the impact he has on this game.
Yeah, and going back to Philly, where he was drafted, where he kind of had some struggles, broke out last year in Vegas. It's going to be fun to watch. Philly hasn't been known for their secondary the last couple years. So it's going to be an opportunity for Nelson Aguilar to come out, kind of showcase what he's got, even though it's still preseason, showcase what he's got, what he wants to, say to the fans. And maybe it was a friendly exit. I don't know from the organization standpoint, but it's always fun to have those, reunion games. So I'm excited. I was kind of looking forward to watching Devontae Smith. We still haven't seen him. Just how our cornerbacks hold up, especially with the depth there against, a guy that was drafted so highly last year, a Heisman Trophy winner. We won't see him on the Eagles side, but it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited.
And one piece of news that did come out today was Devontae Smith practiced today a little bit. He was limited. So I talked to a couple Eagles fans and they said he probably isn't going to play, but he hasn't been officially ruled out. If he does play, seeing that matchup, Devontae Smith, a guy drafted, high, top 15 overall. I think he was drafted 11th in this year's past draft. Heisman Trophy winner, spectacular talent. And seeing him go up against J.C. Jackson and some of our other corners is going to be exciting to watch if he does play. But another guy I just remembered was not at practice today was Jonathan Jones, I believe. So I'm not sure what's going on with him. I didn't see any injury update on him. If it is injury related, COVID, whatever it is, but he was also not at practice. So we might not see him on Thursday either.
So I'm reading on Pat's Pulpit. That's usually where I get all my, stuff. It says that with Jonathan Jones relegated to spectator status due to an apparent injury, the Pats had to shuffle their cornerbacks around a bit. So apparent injury, no true news on what it is or if that is true. But yeah, he was not at practice today, which, only makes our cornerbacks that much thinner.
Jalen Mills played some slot corner today at practice, I heard. So I don't know. That's still the position I'm concerned about. That cornerback position, outside corner, the depth we have there is concerning. We've talked about it multiple times, but it's still a big concern of mine. It's not going away. We don't have any more depth, especially if guys get hurt. I'm concerned about it. Our defense is awesome. We got an extreme amount of talent in the front seven, but if we don't have that back end, if we don't have quarterbacks who can cover these receivers, they're still going to have success against us, against our defense. So I'm looking to see these guys get healthy. Gilmore needs to come back. Hopefully that contract situation gets figured out soon, because we got like 25 days till week 1, 26 days, something like that, till week 1. So time's running out. So I hope it gets resolved quickly, because this cornerback depth is not something that I want to see get tested during the season, because I don't think it's going to go very well.
That's going to be a sigh of relief for Patriots fans once that contract gets done, if it gets done. And, we can only hope and pray. But yeah, I'm excited for, game 2. See, what else Mac has, what else Cam has. Continue to watch Judon ball out, hopefully. And then, just cross your fingers, knock on wood, that we don't have any more major injuries. So I'm excited to watch it. But yeah.
Well, we'll see on that injury front. It's been a tough go. Hopefully the luck starts to turn around for us a little bit and we can keep some guys healthy, but getting a couple guys back. Nelson Aguilar, like we talked about, David Andrews, hopefully he'll be playing. He's healthy. He's been practicing far more, all those guys. So we'll get to see some new faces that we haven't seen yet this year. So it's going to be an exciting game to watch, but day off tomorrow for the Pats. Game on Thursday. We'll have a show Thursday after the game, right? Thursday night.
Yeah, so I won't be able to be here Thursday. I have a night practice. So I know we're coming on Friday with
Okay. Yep.
Patriots with a 1. That's
Yep.
how you go. So we will have that, and I don't know if you're going to plan a post game one or something, but
Okay.
I'll be up at practice. So
tune in on Thursday to the Pats game, obviously, and then we'll have a live stream on Friday, kind of recapping the game and that stuff. But yeah, I think that's it for me. You got anything else?
no, I'm just, excited. Usually I was talking to Fogg about this the other day on our podcast, like preseason for the Patriots the last couple of years hasn't been exciting to watch because we know it's going to be Tom Brady and who it's going to be. But now you got these little position battles, especially the quarterback one, that makes preseason worth it to watch because you want to see how these guys do. You want to see if, Mac really can be the quarterback of the future, which I think we're seeing, and we all know he can be, but you're seeing these guys and you're going to see them develop. So preseason has a different feel for me this year. I'm excited to, be in, and then obviously with us covering it and, staying so up to date on the podcast, it's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it's super excited every day you're curious to see how each guy did in practice, how different positions did. Mac and Cam both had good days today. Cam 13 of 15 with a drop. Mac Jones 13 of 14 with an interception. But I mean, he had that interception early and then was great from there on out. So just watching this battle progress and the ups and downs it goes through, it makes preseason, training camp, all these things, it makes you want to tune in every day and see what's going on, because there's so many different things that go on throughout the day, throughout the practices, injuries. Some people have a great practice, make a great play, a couple different things happen, and these position battles are just there's so many close battles that it's fun to watch and to see who's going to come out on top.
For sure. Well, that's it for me. So Cole, I'll let you, kind of take us out, and, we'll go all I got to say, go Patriots, right? 1-0. We got to get to 2-0. It doesn't count.
1-0 in the preseason. Hopefully we can continue that week 1 of the actual season. But yeah, tune back in Friday. We'll have a post-game show. We'll kind of talk about all the different storylines throughout the game, how each guy did, update you on injuries, all that stuff. So yeah, that's it for us. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Patriots Drive podcast. Follow us on social media to stay up to date with all things New England Patriots. Make sure you tune in to the next episode and check out patriotsdrive.com for more great content.
We're on to Cincinnati.